Hello chess friends and welcome to your Art of Chess channel and welcome to the absolute derby of two players who could be maybe the next world champion in chess. One of them is already a world champion in rapid chess. It's Nodirbek Abdulsatorov, and the other is Alireza Firouzja, who is of course an elite member of the chess community for a long time now, although he's still so young. But these two guys I think have really a bright future. In my opinion, this will be really maybe in the next couple of years the clash, the battle for the world chess championship throne. So now they meet in the Norway Chess event in the round 3, and let's see now what happened. Nodirbek played with the white pieces, Alireza played with the black pieces. In my opinion, it shows really the difference in dynamics, the difference of willing to create madness all over the board. Who creates more ideas, I think, should win the game. So let's see now what happened. Well, who created more attacking chances in this beautiful and epic game. So here Nodirbek with the white pieces open with the move d4. Alireza's response was d5, c4, the queen's gambit, c6, the Slav, knight to f3, knight to f6, knight to c3. We have now the semi-Slav defense, the semi-Slav structure. In the next couple of moves, we can maybe expect moves like d takes c4, b5, releasing the pressure a little bit in the center of the board. We have now the move e3, which is now a quiet approach, of course, to the game. If you play something like bishop to g5, then I think you can expect d takes c4 immediately. I myself, I like to play this undermining pressure idea in the center, releasing the pressure, the exchange variation with the move c takes d5. But okay, here e3 was played by Nodirbek. We have knight to d7 by Alireza Firouzja, bishop to e2, bishop to d6. We have b3, b6. So we have now a certain symmetry here. Nothing dramatically changes now in the center of the board, but both players are still trying to play on this fianchetto ideas on the queen side. So in the game we have bishop to b2, bishop to b7, king side Carlsen, and now king side Carlsen. So many games have been played in this particular setup. We have seen also bishop to d3 previously, so it's a certain symmetry. It's so tough to play these games because the only thing that I think you can get here is maybe a drawish position. So if you want to create at least something, you have to be really a monster to create activities here. So it's really tough to create anything. So that's why I still like to call it really a drawish setup. Nothing is happening for sure. So in the next couple of moves, we'll see how the game transposes. So queen to c2, rook to e8, and now after rook to d1, queen to e7. So both players have finished the development. Both players have now the rook connection, have moved the queen from the first and the 8th rank. But now the game is spicing up. Rook to e1, and here with this move, Nodirbek is maybe announcing that he could open somehow the e file. The queen is so far on the e file, the queen is endangered. But now after rook from mate to d8, then h3, which is also a prophylactic idea, not to allow maybe some ideas of knight to g4, e5, is then also an opportunity to break and enter here for black. So both players are searching maybe some breakthrough motifs in the center of the board. Now h6 was played by Alireza. We have bishop to e1, liberating now the e file, so the queen is still endangered. We have bishop to a3 by Alireza Firouzja, trading off the dark square bishop, and now after move c takes d5, e takes d5, bishop to a3, queen to a3. The game transposes now into ideas of the queen's gambit declined exchange variation setups now, where we reach this so-called Carlsbad pawn structure. We see it's not the same, but I think the same strategic elements and moments are applying here. Now white will eventually launch a flank attack on the queen side, will launch the so-called minority attack using this 2 pawns against black's 3 pawns here on the queen side. On the other hand, black's strategic goal is now the fixation around the square e4, jumping maybe with the knight on e4, and then maybe to push the pawns here on f5, g5. So it becomes now an opposite side attack game. White attacks the queen side, black attacks the king side. But who is faster, as I said, who produces more ideas, I think could have a comfortable game. And I think in the beginning of this sequence, of this tactical battle that happens now, Alireza was slightly more aggressive, was slightly more willing to do madness in the position. Look at this. After move a5, he already sensed that there could be a minority attack on the queen side. He plays now the move a5, preventing this a3 b4 motif here on the queen side to create, of course, some structural weaknesses, backward pawns or maybe isolated pawns here on the queen side, or maybe even weak squares. That's the idea about the minority attack, with launching these 2 pawns against these 3 pawns. But then we can provoke maybe, if you could just imagine this position, we traded off the A and B pawns, and now black is left maybe with a backward pawn on c6. That's the idea about the minority attack. But here Alireza, after bishop to d3, he's sensing that he could make already impact here on the king side. After move queen to e7, queen to b2, knight to e4. That's the fixation that I've talked about. We have now the outpost of the knight on e4, and now we can expect f5 g5, or maybe even knight to f6, creating further fixed position around the square e4. So rook from b to c1. So in my opinion, Nordrbek played too many passive moves. He is not doing anything on the queen side. He is not making further progress with a3 b4. He should make at least something here. He has to be active. Now with the move rook to c1, he's almost like searching for new opportunities, maybe targeting the weak backward pawn on c6 here. So maybe he missed his opportunities to be more active here on queenside. That's the thing that I wanted to say, because in my opinion, as I said, it seems to me that Alireza is more active here. Look at this. He's preparing now an attack here. Knight to g5, trying to get rid of the knights here, and then include this other knight into the game, maybe knight to f6, and then again jump with the knight on e4, then again f5, queen to g5. But with the move knight to g5, he wants to get rid of the key defender of white's king here on the king side, which is the knight on f3. So that's why knight to g5, good move. We have knight to g5, queen to g5, we have knight to a4 by Nordrbek, attacking now the pawn on b6, and now rook to e6. You see, Alireza is already there. He's using more pieces into the attack. Good move, good rook lift with preparation. If the position allows it, maybe rook to g6. So far, it's not possible because of the bishop's activity. So queen to e2, we have c5, and now d takes c5 by Nordrbek. And this move was quite risky, because here there was a simple idea for Nordrbek to simplify the game. So Alireza didn't have really massive attack. With queen to g4, I think Nordrbek could have solved many positional problems. After c takes d4, we have e takes d4, the rooks are off the board, and now after potential move knight to f6, you still can control it with f3, and the knight will not jump here for sure. This square is taken. The rook can never come on the c file, and in my opinion, this should be of course a slightly better position. So you see also the knight cannot leave the protection of the b6 pawn. So it's tough for black to play the game. After trades of queens, I think trading off the queens would be a nice strategic idea here for Nordrbek, but he chooses to play d takes c5, and Alireza doesn't want to take out the pawn. He passes through, and he's now creating madness all over the board. He's threatening now even a checkmate on g2. Now Nordrbek plays queen to g4, but it's now a different story. After queen to e7, bishop to f5, Alireza has everything under control, because he has this intermediate attack against the queen. We have now queen to e2, and now queen to e2 again. Quite risky move, because you're getting in front of the rook here on e6. Look at this, the rook is already very dangerous here. A better maybe slightly choice was to play queen to f4, and I think the game would reach a perpetual here with knight to f6, knight to h5, and queen to f4. So the queen should actually stay here, maybe more active. After move queen to e2, now actually the queen becomes an object of black's attack. Look at this, the rook is targeting the queen, and now with the move rook to e5 here, we have c6 by Nordrbek Abdulsatorov. He uses now this extra pawn that he traded, that Alireza never traded back, but now comes the dirty idea here with bishop to c6, rook to c6, and now, as we said, d takes e3 first. Now we don't pick up the bishop immediately. Look at this, what happens if you play f takes e3, then of course rook to f5, and now in my opinion, black is again slightly better because of this weakness with this isolated pawn on e3. If you play, for instance, bishop to b1, if you want to step back from the attack of the rook, then it's even worse. Look at this, e takes f2, you pick up maybe here with the king, then rook to e2, and you lose the game. If you pick up, of course, with the queen, then the rook is hanging on e1. So very wild stuff. So after move d takes e3, that's why here king to f1 was played by Nordrbek. We have rook to f5, queen to e3, queen to d7, attacking now the rook on c6. Again, Alireza applies the principle of simple threats. He's never allowing here, I think, Nordrbek to regroup. Every move by Alireza is a beautiful attacking move, and here after many attacking moves, Garry Kasparov once said, your opponent will eventually make a mistake, and now it happened. Nordrbek played rook to c1, retreating with the rook, he had to simply stay now with the rook here on c6, supporting the rook with the move queen to c3. This would be the way to go. But still, even in this position, I'm telling you this, I'm showing you a little bit sidelines here, because this was now the critical moment of the game. After queen to c3, still black is here on the attacking side. It could play maybe something like knight to h5, for instance. If you pick up here the pawn on b6, then you get destroyed. Look at this. Queen to d2, queen to d2, rook to d2, rook to e2. You cannot cover here because you get a check, and now with knight to g3 you get even checkmated here on the back rank. You have to step back from the defense of the rook. So really wild stuff. Even if you play, instead of this move rook to b6, if you play knight to b6, if you try to pick up the pawn in a different way, then again with queen to d2 the same tactics apply. So it's really hard to defend this position here on the king side for white. So that's why after move knight to h5, you should simply play here king to g1, getting out of this mess on the f file, getting out of this mess here on against this knight on f4, and now maybe in the later stage you can pick up the pawn on b6. So this was the way to go for Nodirbek Abdulsatorov. He had to play first queen to c3, but now he retreated, and Alireza uses now this moment, plays now very actively on the e file. As we said, the queen becomes now a huge target of black's attack. We have queen to b6, picking up the pawn, but it's not so good. Now Alireza goes all in. Look at this, really wild stuff. Pawn on b6 is not important anymore. The pieces, the activity of the pieces is now the crucial thing here. Look at this. Alireza is breaking through here. Nodirbek tries to battle with the move rook to d1. It's not working. King to g1 was maybe slightly better. Even allow here this pawn to be taken with knight to f2. Sorry, with knight to f2 or rook to f2. This would be a much better continuation for white. But unfortunately for Nodirbek, he played now rook to d1. This moment Alireza uses, of course, and plays now the immortal knight to f2. Really wild stuff. Look at this. He's sacrificing the queen. If you pick up the queen, then it's not so good. Knight to h3 is a beautiful checkmate. You can just bring the queen in between, and rook to f2 is winning the game for sure. So after move knight to f2, that's why Nodirbek picked up here the rook on e8. We have queen to e8, and now here Nodirbek had it enough, sacrifice the queen now for 2 pieces. Alireza plays this intermediate check, the king drops back, and now rook to f2, king to f2, and from this point on it's, I think, a completely winning game here for Alireza Firouzja. King to e3, a couple of checks here by the queen, pushing the king far away from the action. We have king to f1, f5, we have queen to c3, we have knight to c4, and now a4, deflecting the pawn from the defense of the knight. We have a rook to e1, a takes b3, a takes b3, queen takes b3, knight to e5, and now here Alireza is storming with his 3 versus 2 pawns here against the knight and the rook, and the queen is supporting it. The king is never in danger here. You can maybe just try to deliver a couple of checks, but your own king here, from white's perspective, is of course in danger, so it's simply not working. Knight to f3, we have king to g7, king to f2, and now king to f6. This was maybe even the first inaccurate move here by Alireza through the whole game, but it's not such a bad move. Still, black is much better here. A better way to go maybe was queen to b6, and then when the king drops back, g4, you let the pawn roll, h takes g, and now queen to f6, and now let the pawns roll afterwards with the move h5, h4, and I think this could be also a nice idea here for black. So in the game, after move king to f6 here, Nodirbek played g4. We have again the check, king to g3, queen to d6, again a new check. We have f takes g4, h takes g4, queen to f4 comes in a beautiful way into the game. The rook creates here a counterattack, king to g7, protecting now the pawn, and now after move rook to g1, now comes another beautiful move here by Alireza Firouzja, h5, letting this g pawn roll, because if you play, for instance, g takes h5, then g5 is rolling. You have to maybe bring the rook in between, but now here king to h6 gets out of the mess. You can maybe pick up the king like this, king to g2, but now we'll just simply take out here the knight on f3, and this is of course completely winning here for black. So this was pawn choice. This would be after g takes h5. But Norway played king to g2. Alireza picked up simply the pawn on g4. The knight drops back. We have g3. Alireza is not allowing here Norway to escape. We have rook to f1, queen to e3, king to h3, and now comes another stunner of the endgame. It was a winning move, and in that position, Norway resigns. So pause the video maybe and try to see now the winning idea. Sorry. Try to pause the video and try solve now this mini puzzle here at the end of the game. What would you do here with the black pieces? How to win the game immediately? Okay, here Alireza played a beautiful queen to f2. If you take, of course, then g takes f2 attacks the knight. You cannot get closer with the king. You have to step back, and then we have a promotion. So after move queen to f2 in this position, Norway resign. Even if you play something like rook to h1, it's not working. g4, it would be the winning move. The king has to now step back from the defense of the g2 square, and now we can let the pawn roll again. You have to sacrifice the knight. We have now queen to g2. We pick up the rook, and again the game would be over here for white. So great game, I think, by Alireza. Activating his pieces on the king side like this was, I think, crucial. Norway never found any attacking chances on the queen side, never found a real plan, I think, in this particular game. So that's why I would say this was really a deserved win by Alireza. Although Norway is really one of my favorite masters now these days. I really covered many of his games now in the last couple of weeks, but this was simply a better game by Alireza. We have to say it. We have to acknowledge his attacking skills here, because he always spiced up the game somehow. It was a tough position to play. It's not one of those, I don't know, neither Sicilian Kings Indians where always the position is exploding. No, this was a static game with tough productive ideas to find, I think. But Alireza found them. Played great chess, great active chess, never got bothered by the possibility of this pawn on b6. He simply left the pawn on b6 and activated his pieces on the king side. So that's why I really love this game. Incredible game by Alireza Firouzja. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the semi-Slav structure for sure. If you want to see more games from this event, check out our coverage so far. Here are some links of some games that we have covered before. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say. Chess is the best, of course.